Have you ever wondered how typing a simple URL like let's say crickbuzz.com connects you to a server and loads the all that live cricket message stats? DNS acts as a internet's phone book, okay? Just like you open your phone book and you don't need to remember the numbers, right? Always. So today we are going to dive deep into the high-level design of DNS or domain name system and the C name record or the canonical name record, which redirects one domain to another, right? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, have you ever wondered how typing a simple URL like let's say crickbuzz.com connects you to a server and loads the all that live cricket message stats? So, the magic behind this is the domain name system or the DNS. Okay. So, today we are going to dive deep into the high-level design of DNS or domain name system and explore its key components like what do we mean by DNS and what is meant by DNS lookup. Okay, and what is a DNS cache, right? So let's get started. So let's start with the basics first. So DNS acts as a internet's phone book, okay? Just like you open your phone book and you don't need to remember the numbers, right? Always you just can't remember the name, you type in the name, then the corresponding phone numbers appear. Just like that phone book, what is the job of a DNS? DNS acts as a phone book for your URLs, right? You don't remember the IP address of crickbuzz.com or amazon.com, right? You just remember the name, like it's crickbuzz.com or the amazon.in or .com. So the IP address behind it, like 192.168, those long string of numbers you don't remember usually, right? So that's where the DNS concept comes into picture. So it translates human-readable domain names like as I told, crickbuzz.com to IP address like 192.168.1.1 something. It can be anything, right? So this is how DNS works as a high level. So when you type a URL into the browser, a browser asks the DNS resolver to resolve this name to an IP address. Okay. Then the DNS resolver communicates with the hierarchy of systems or hierarchy of servers to get the final IP address or the actual IP address of the URL that you have entered. But behind the simplicity, there lies a complex distributed system and a whole lot of hierarchical request pattern that takes place behind the scene. So let's break it down. So when you type in a URL, it doesn't directly go to the destination server, right? As you discussed, it follows a hierarchical routing path. Well, let's understand how this hierarchical routing path works in detail. So at first, when you type in a URL in your browser first checks its cache memory, right? If it has the IP address of the corresponding URL that you have entered, if it is present in the browser memory or not. Because browsers also can cache the DNS lookup IP address for some time. If the browser doesn't find it, then it will then forward a request to the main component or the heart of this entire DNS lookup architecture, that is the DNS resolver. Okay. So DNS resolver is typically managed by your internet service provider or your ISP. Okay. So this resolver acts as the middleman between your browser and you and the rest of the entire DNS infrastructure, right? This is the entire DNS infrastructure. Again, when you type example.com or abc.com in your browser, now the DNS resolver will again check its cache. Just like browser has its own cache memory, DNS resolver also has its own cache memory. Okay, so it will first check its local cache memory if it is the IP address of this corresponding URL abc.com. If it finds this well and good, it will just directly return the IP address to the browser, and then browser will load the content from that IP address. But if the IP is not cached, if it doesn't find, then it starts querying the entire DNS hierarchy. Okay, these three levels of hierarchical servers it will communicate with one by one. The resolver now will first contact one of its root DNS server, okay, which is globally distributed. The servers act as a directory assistance for the internet, and this type of root DNS servers are managed by 13 organizations across the globe. The funny point is these root DNS servers don't know the IP address of your URL abc.com. Okay, instead they provide a referral to the top level domain servers or the TLD servers. Now, what do you mean by TLD server? For example, if we are trying to reach, let's say, abc.com, the DNS resolver will send a request to the root DNS server, and the root DNS server will direct the resolver. I mean, it will send the address to the one of the TLD server, let's say .com TLD servers. So TLD servers are nothing but servers with different kind of domains like .com, .org, .any, .net, .in, etc. As you discussed, root server gives the address of one of the TLD server to the DNS resolver. Then using that address, DNS resolver will now communicate with the TLD server. Okay. Let's say in our case it's abc.com, so it will communicate with one of the .com TLD server. Okay. Now the TLD server also doesn't have the exact IP address. Okay. Instead, now this TLD server in response will send the location or the address of a authoritative name server, just like the GoDaddy server or the name servers of Cloudflare, right? So it will send the address to the exact name server, which can provide you the exact IP of this URL abc.com. So finally, once it gets the address of the authoritative name server, now the DNS resolver will send a request to the authoritative name server with the URL data. So this is where the magic happens. The authoritative domain server is the ultimate source of truth, which has the actual IP address of your URL abc.com. It also holds the actual DNS record such as the A record or the address record, which is a mapping between the domain name and the IP address. Then the CNAME record or the canonical name record, which redirects one domain to another, right? It's used for redirection. Next one is the TXT record, which contains arbitrary text, which is usually used for domain, verification whether you own the domain or not. To verify the ownership of the domain, it is used. Now, this authoritative name server responds with the actual IP address of the URL that you have entered. So, this DNS resolver finally gets the IP address of the URL that you have entered. So, there is a command in Linux called dig command, dig. So, using that command, you can see the authoritative name server of a given URL. For example, if I just type in dig.uptimei.com space ns, if I type in this, I can see that for this website uptimei.com, Cloudflare is the name server for this authoritative name server, which provides the actual IP address of this domain uptimei.com. Okay. Now, once the resolver gets the actual IP address of the domain name, now the resolver returns the IP address to your browser. Okay. From here, your browser uses this IP to connect to the destination web server and load the website. Okay. So all of these queries, responses, referrals, all these things happens in real times, right? So to make DNS even faster, caching plays a crucial role. As you can see, there are two types of caching used here, right? I mean, at two levels, we are using the caching here. So let's quickly see how caching reduces the load on these layers and speeds up the process. So to make DNS faster, caching is critical. So imagine asking the same question repeatedly, right? It's inefficient, right? So DNS caching stores the resolved IP address. Let's say once the entire process is done, the IP address that you have got, now the DNS resolver can store that information in its cache. Like it will store something like for abc.com, the IP address is something XYZ, right? So on a broader sense, in the DNS architecture, you have two kinds of cache used. One is the browser cache, which is nothing but your browser remembers your recently visited sites data, right, and its IP address. And the second one is the DNS resolver cache. So this resolver stores the cache data that it has received from the authoritative name servers. So for fast up the query response, if someone comes and requests the data for the same website abc.com again. So caching reduces obviously latency, decreases server load, and ensures a seamless browsing experience, but it also has some limitations. Like what happens if the data in the cache is outdated, right, or it is not used anymore. So that's where the TTL or time to leap concept is used to control the cache data. So if you want to learn more about caching, I've created a separate video about caching where I've discussed in detail about different type of caching, cache eviction policies, then cache invalidation techniques, etc. So you can click on the eye icon and to explore that video. To wrap it up, DNS is the backbone of the internet, definitely, which enables seamless communication between a client and the server, right? We've explored the key concepts of DNS, like how it routes requests, how the caching works in DNS, and what is DNS exactly. So if you found this video helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more such system design concepts, basic concepts video like this. Also, you can check out my playlist on system design where we combine system design concepts with real life use cases. So click on the icon above to explore the playlist. So you can also check out my other playlist named Learn Out of the Box, where we'll discuss about this type of topics that you can see, right? Which will be quite interesting for you to know. You will definitely love this playlist, so check it out. Click on the icon to explore this playlist. So if you got any doubts about whatever we discussed in this video, drop a comment in the comment section. I'll be sure to address them. So we are targeting to reach 1800 subscribers by the end of this month, so keep supporting. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.